Hey, this is Jonathan Blake, and you're watching First Look.
Hello, I'm Don Was, the president of Blue Note Records, and our guest today is one of the foremost drummer, composer, band leaders of our time, Jonathan Blake. In addition to making his own records, he's collaborated with giants like Ravi Coltrane, Pharoah Sanders, Tom Harold, Chris Potter, Kenny Barron, Maria Schneider, Jaleel Shaw, and the late great Dr. Lonnie Smith. His debut Blue Note release, Homeward Bound, features longtime musical compadres Desron Douglas, David Varelis, Emmanuel Wilkins, and Joel Ross. Jonathan, thanks for joining us on First Look today. How are you, man?
Oh, man, great to see you. Thanks for having me. It's truly an honor, and I'm so grateful to be here.
Thank you, man. Well, congratulations on a brilliant album. I love this record. I really think it's a beautiful modern day manifestation of the Blue Note ethos. You know, it's a great extension of our of the legacy. Let's talk about the incredible band you put together for this album. Really, an all-star band, contemporary musicians. You called the group Pentad, right? And
yeah,
how'd that happen? How'd that come about?
Well, I was thinking of defining a word that just meant like the coming together, like five musicians coming together for like a common goal. And when I read that definition for Pentad, I was like, man, this is perfect, because it's like five different organisms coming together to create something powerful. And when I first put the group together, I was like, man, I felt that right away. There was a connection, and in a way, it kind of all centered around me because I've played with each of those individuals separately. But then when we came together as a group, it was like we all gelled immediately. Joel and I worked together in another project that I was commissioned to do. And that's kind of where I first started working with him. Emmanuel and I go back, better part of a decade, when I would come back home to do concerts in Philly. He was the new young little alto player. He was like 9 or 10 or something like that, and he could already really play. Mm-hmm. So I would see his parents bringing him to concerts and stuff like that. So there was always that connection there, and then of course the connection of Desron and David and myself from playing for almost a decade with Ravi's group. There was already this lock between the rhythm section. So when I brought the two younger guys on board, it just clicked. Everything clicked. And I remember the first two concerts we did were actually at the Jazz Gallery in New York, and right away people felt the vibe and the energy right away. They knew that they were witnessing something special.
Homeward Bound has its roots in a very tragic story.
Right.
Let's talk about the title track.
Yeah, there was a tune that I had written a while ago, and it was in dedication to great saxophonist Jimmy Green and his wife Nelba and their son Isaiah's. Nelba and Jimmy's daughter Anna Grace, who was unfortunately taken away in the Sandy Hook massacre in 2012, and for me it was very. I don't know. It just as a father, I think it just hit me very deeply. The other thing was that I met Anna when she was very young. I remember the announcement that Nelba put out on email, and she emailed only close people. So I was one of the people that got the announcement that there was a new addition to the Green family. So just to have her taken like that so viciously and so quickly, like it just I felt paralyzed in a way. So when I heard of the tragedy, I was actually on my way to Europe to record this record, and this melody came into my head, and I was like, man, it's one of those things where I had to like sing it in my phone or something like that, just so I did, so it stays with me. And then when I got to a piano, I just started working out, and I don't know, it just, when I listen back to it, I was like, man, this maybe sounds like something that she would, maybe sing, because what they would tell me is like, man, yeah, she as soon as she could kind of walk and talk, this reminds me of something that maybe she would sing. So I wanted to, when I finished it, I was like, I feel like this should be dedicated to her. And never had the opportunity to record it. So when I brought it to the band, because it is kind of tricky as far as like rhythmically, but when I saw that they were cool with it and they nailed it, I was like, oh man, this is the right band to play this tune and to really grasp the concept that I was trying to go about. It's not a somber mood that I wanted to convey. It's more about celebrating this young lady's life, this young girl's life, albeit short. It's a celebration of her life and legacy. So.
Let's play it. Let's listen to it. That's the title track from Jonathan Blake's new album, Homeward Bound. Desron is one of my favorite bass players, and he's a brilliant composer and producer in his own right. And he wrote the track "Shaking the Biscuits." Man, I love that one. It's got a funk groove, but it definitely extends the boundaries of
totally.
funk tune consists of. Let's talk about that track a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, that we have been playing it a certain way where we're just playing ahead and I remember we were kind of on a break in the studio and we were kind of just like chilling, maybe having a few beers or something like that. And he's like, "Look, man, I want the vibe to be like you in the party and and these girls shaking themselves, shaking their booties and stuff like that, man. And you just like at a loss for words." So he's like, I want you and Emmanuel to start out with something like you kind of talking to each other. So that's kind of how that came about. So when you listen to it, it's like before we break into the groove, there's this element of like kind of this conversation that Emmanuel and I are having, and kind of and I kind of see like David as like the cat in the background, like, yeah, you're right. And like kind of listening in on our conversation because he's playing like these really sparse chords, but they're very like long, elongated. So it's just like almost like you see the cat in the background. Like, yeah, that's right. She's beautiful. Whatever it is. So, so that's how that concept came about. And then we kind of just break in the groove. It's also, like you said, it has this kind of funk groove to it, but also has kind of like a boogaloo thing to it, kind of like a ode to, our man Lou Donaldson and Doc.
It works, man. Let's listen to some of that. That's Jonathan Blake, a song called "Shaking the Biscuits" from his new album, Homeward Bound.
That's right.
The track LLL opens kind of like a great Art Blakey or Tony Williams track with a beautiful drum piece. But it features some really explosive drumming throughout, man. And of course, it's dedicated to drummer Lawrence Low Leathers. Tell us about the track, man.
Yeah. Lawrence was a really good friend of mine, and I just remember like having these long talks with him. And the last one being we were both in. I think we were both in Paris. That's what it was, and we found each other at the same club at Sunside, in Paris. And we just had this long discussion about life and about loss. I think he had just lost his mom, and I was telling him about the loss of my father and stuff like that. And, he just had a unique way of looking at it, and I just always loved his spirit, loved his playing. He was a different kind of thinker, man. He kind of thought outside the box, and he was one of these guys that when he played, he kind of played the way he the way he speaks and the way he talks. You know, it was really different. You know, it was swinging. It was always swinging, but it was different. It wasn't like the conventional bebop style of playing. So I always appreciated that, you know, about his playing. And so when I composed this tune, it's kind of, you know, phrasing, it's a little different. And, you know, it's just a little bit outside of, you know, quote unquote norm or center, you know, so, and I like that, you know, I like it not being so conventional and having to put everything in a box. I like kind of being able to branch out and kind of think outside the box. So I kind of felt like, man, this is kind of something I could hear Lawrence playing or something like that. And he would just tear it up. So that's why it's a little bit more drum heavy in a way. Like it starts off with a, you know, with an intro with the drums, and then there's this kind of like setup. And, you know, once the rest of the band hears that, they know where they are. So, so like you said, there it is a, you know, an ode to him, but also kind of like the drummers from the past, Elvin and Tony and Art, and of course like Philly Joe from my hometown.
Great, let's play it. That's Jonathan Blake from his brand new album, Homeward Bound, a track called LLL. Jonathan, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today to discuss the record. It's a stellar release, man. It's rooted firmly in tradition, but it goes places I've never heard anyone go before. It's really innovative, brilliant record, man. Welcome to Blue Note Records, man. We're honored to work with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for welcoming me to the family. And it's I'm so honored that you took a liking to the record. I'm really honored, and it was funny because even before, like when Desron heard, they were like, "Man, I think this would fit well with the Blue Note format," and so I'm so glad you guys were on that journey with me, and you believed in the project. So thank you.
Thank you, man, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on First Look. If you enjoyed First Look and would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button and also click the bell icon. That way, you'll be notified when we post our next video.